Suspected church bomber speaks, "I am not a suicide bomber." Lagos makes exceptions to its Okada ban in some areas of the city. On the international scene, Wuhan's new hospital opens for coronavirus treatment. And in sport, CAF votes to stop Samura's mandate as FIFA's Secretary General.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. The 30-year-old suspected bomber of the Kaduna Sabon Tasha branch of Living Faith Church, also known as Winners Chapel, says he's actually Christian, contrary to social media stories that he's a Muslim. He denied being a suicide bomber. Two names for the suspects were being bandied around after his arrest on Sunday. Inside the church, he was accused of attempting to bomb. He said the police found on him fireworks, not explosives. He said he's a decorator. Some have said his name is Muhammad Nasiru Sani rather than Nathaniel Samuel, by which he identified himself while being paraded by police in Kaduna on Monday. The suspect said he has attended the Living Faith Church Bible Institute and that he was actually going to be a pastor. The areas of Lagos where the ban on commercial motorcycles and tricycles took effect on Monday are said to be experiencing transportation hardships. The government announced on Monday it had instructed the Lag Bus Company to assign additional buses to the areas. But residents say big buses would find it difficult to reach the tiny roads, streets and corners where Okada and Keke went. Meanwhile, the Lagos State government has announced some exceptions to the Okada and Keke ban. Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Benga Omotosho, said the only motorcycles allowed in those areas are dispatch riders, courier companies, newspaper dispatching motorcycles, police motorbikes and motorbike riders. The commissioner also said security agents have discretionary powers in some situations. He said those arrested by mistake in the 2 days since the ban took effect have been released with apologies. The coronavirus outbreak is posing a huge economic threat, but not just in China, but in Africa as well. In Nigeria, several traders travel to China to buy goods, while thousands of Chinese citizens live and work in the country. Economic exchanges between the two countries amount to more than $85 billion in trade volume. As Kelechi Mekalam reports, that may change as coronavirus continues to spread.
Chinedu Chiazo is a known importer of fabrics in the popular Wuse market in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. He's been in the business for over 2 decades. He's been able to grow his business from a startup of less than $100. Now he purchases goods worth over $30,000 from China and makes an average 5 trips yearly. But that would change now following the outbreak of the coronavirus.
When you are alive and healthy, that you can do investments. But then for those of us that our business for now depends in China, it's going to be much setback. It's going to affect trade for this year.
There are several businesses like Chinedu's here that are largely dependent on imports and trade from China. So many would be seeking alternatives.
It is better this time to send money across so that they can load the goods for you, especially if you have good and competent hands over there. But if you don't have, like I said, the most important thing is to be alive. So you cannot risk it.
Currently, China accounts for 15% of the global GDP, with many more countries depending on its thriving market. Many fear that the coronavirus outbreak would cause fatalities as well as impact negatively on the world economy if quick, effective interventions are not implemented to contain the virus.
What you experience is that for Nigeria, in bringing of goods from foreign countries, particularly those of us dealing with Chinese economy and being partners with China, we have a lot of challenges. more so that some of those goods, there is no immediate competitiveness or competition or alternative from which we can get them. So you might see increase in prices because so many persons may be demanding for goods because supply side may reduce while demand remains the same or increase.
China is Nigeria's closest ally and most important trading partner. Trade volume between both countries run into billions of dollars, so Nigeria may be one of the worst hit. Many here are now urging global leaders to work with China to conquer the menace of the coronavirus in order to save lives and economies from crumbling.
The Oyo State Police Command says it has arrested a suspect, Dotun Shomefun, in connection with the killing of a supporter of the People's Democratic Party in their state. The local government administration's problems were compounded on Monday when the vehicle conveying a PDP supporter, Isha Aziz, was fired on in Surulere local government area. Aziz was said to have sustained bullet wounds and later died in hospital. Police in the state said Shomefun is currently helping the command in its investigation. Members of the National Labour Congress in Niger State have begun an indefinite strike on Monday over non-implementation of the new national minimum wage. A statement jointly signed by Chairman of the Niger Labour Congress, NLC, and his Trade Union Congress, TUC counterpart, says the decision was reached at an emergency joint state executive council meeting. The labor organizations had given the state government a 21-day ultimatum early in January. Labour is demanding immediate implementation of the 30,000 naira national minimum wage and accrued arrears to all categories of workers at the state and local government levels. Labour also wants the government to immediately resume payments of last year's outstanding annual leave grants to state and local government workers. Coming up, African stories. Kenya's second former president, Daniel Arap Moi, dies at 95. And later, international news. Wuhan opens new hospital built for coronavirus treatment.
Correct, Costi. Give me 100 naira rice and add 888 join up. Yeah. On top. Yes. Yes.
Which time I go be this now? Not be the same 100 when everybody pays this morning.
They no use code.
Which code?
Oh boy, no get it for market to get better wolf. 888 now be the code yo. Abi?
Madam, I beg, serve me 888.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to African stories. Kenya has declared an indefinite period of national mourning following the death of the country's longest-serving president, Daniel Arap Moi. President Uhuru Kenyatta announced Moi's death in a presidential proclamation on Tuesday morning. The 95-year-old Kenyan former leader died at the Nairobi hospital. Moi ruled the East African nation for 34 years from 1978 to 2002. The Kenyan presidency has declared a period of national mourning from Tuesday until the day of Moi's funeral, which has not been set. Moi succeeded statesman and independence leader Jomo Kenyatta, whom he served as vice president. He set up torture chambers in the basement of Nyayo's house, a government building in Nairobi city center that now houses the immigration department. Right groups say thousands of activists, students and academics were held without charge in the underground cells, some of them filled with water. Prisoners were said to have sometimes been denied food and water. President Kenyatta has ordered the flags be flown at half-mast as an expression of public sorrow from Tuesday until sunset on the day of Moi's burial. Mois will also be accorded a state funeral with all appropriate civilian and full military honors. Despite allegations of widespread corruption, human rights abuses and torture, he retained the affection of many Kenyans. Ministers from Egypt, Ethiopia and the Sudan have agreed on how to fill the Nile Dam reservoir. The giant hydropower dam project has sparked a diplomatic row between Cairo and Addis Ababa. The ministers met in Washington for the third time and agreed to fill the $4 billion dam in stages. Egypt has always expressed fears the dam will restrict water supplies to its population of more than 100 million. Ethiopia has always disagreed. Adil Maruki has more.
The U.S. Department of Treasury, the host of the talks between foreign and water ministers of Egypt, Sudan and Ethiopia, says an agreement has been reached about the filling of the dam's reservoir, which has been the most pressing issue for Egypt.
It's a partial agreement regarding three main points. Definitely, the 2 points agreed upon are the most important. Filling the reservoirs is the process where Egypt and Sudan cut portions of their water in favor of the dam, and the operation is how much water Ethiopia will release.
The three countries have agreed on a stage-based schedule for filling the reservoir. They've also accepted a mitigation mechanism for the filling and operation of the dam during prolonged drought periods. Egypt has signed the agreement. Ethiopia, however, has postponed its signature till the end of the month.
That sparks fears that Ethiopia might not commit fully to what has been agreed upon in this round. Egypt Foreign Ministry announced that Ethiopia still has remarks that elongates the process of course. The three countries, however, agreed on a deadline of 30 days to finalize a deal.
The three countries have not agreed yet on a platform to resolve future disputes over the dam's operation. They still need to create a detailed plan to implement their deal and continue studies about the environmental impact of the dam. It was expected to be the final round of talks in these 5 years-long negotiations. Hanging issues, however, have forced the three countries to schedule another meeting on February 12. And the deadline for a comprehensive deal has once again been postponed, this time until the end of the month.
Tanzania has found itself on the list of countries slapped with a visa ban by the United States. Although not all categories of visas are affected, the ban has jolted many Tanzanians. Reporter Isaac Lukando has the details.
In 2018, the U.S. issued 290 immigration visas to Tanzanians. Under the new restrictions, Tanzanian nationals will no longer be allowed to apply for diversity visas, which lead to permanent residency in the United States. The announcement has some Tanzanians concerned.
We have relatives and friends who live there. We have various activities that we share with the US. So when this happens, thinking about it deeply, effects must be there.
Deeply thinking, lazima kutakuwa na athari zao.
Let's leave this to the President. I know with his ability and the good relations he has with the United States, along with the ability of our Foreign Minister, Palamagamba Kabudi, they will find a solution to this.
The new rules, however, will not affect people going to the US for temporary stays, including visitors, those doing business, or people seeking medical treatment.
When we return, international news. Wuhan opens new hospital built for coronavirus treatment. And later, sport. CAF votes to stop Samura's mandate as FIFA's Secretary General. Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to international stories. The first coronavirus patients have arrived at the Chinese field hospital built from scratch in under 2 weeks in Wuhan, a city of 11 million in Hubei province. The 1,000-bed facility was built to relieve hospitals swamped with patients in Wuhan. 50 patients arrived at the military-run facility on Tuesday, and reporter Tom Bo visited the new hospital.
It's crunch time for these hospital staff. They're making final preparations before receiving their first batch of patients.
All the rooms are ready for patients. We are sterilizing the air, disinfecting the floors, and giving last-minute reminders to the staff.
Different sections of the hospital are kept strictly separated from one another. Routes from medical staff and patients are also separate to avoid cross-infection. Earlier, our reporter Tang Bo went into the hospital.
It's pretty much like, usually it's like 2 beds in one room. As you can see that the beds are ready, clean pillows, sheets, covers, and the hospital dresses are ready. And here we can see the necessary military facilities are also available. Here we can see the oxygen providing system is all perfectly set. And one thing worth noticing is that the entire hospital is covered by a very special ventilation system, that all the air we're going to breathe inside the hospital will be filtered, cleaned, and then will be, through a very negative pressure system to, get them out of the entire building, to ensure that the working environment here and treating environment here for both the hospital, for doctors and patients are healthy.
Huoshengshan was built in 9 days with the efforts of more than 7,000 construction workers. It covers an area of 34,000 square meters and features about 1,000 beds. Meanwhile, the second temporary hospital for coronavirus patients, Leishengshan, is still under construction. It's set for completion on Wednesday and will start receiving patients the following day.
The Organization of Islamic Cooperation has rejected President Donald Trump's recently released Middle East plan. The 57-member body held a summit in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, on Monday to discuss the plan. The organization agreed at the gathering that member states would not cooperate with the U.S. administration on the plan. The OIC says Trump's Middle East peace plan does not meet the minimum rights and aspirations of Palestinian people. Trump says his proposed deal would ensure the establishment of a two-state solution, promising Palestinians a state of their own with a new capital in Abu Dis, a suburb of Jerusalem. Trump also said Jerusalem would be the undivided capital of Israel. But the Palestinians want both occupied East Jerusalem and the West Bank to be part of a future state. Palestinian leaders who were absent during the announcement of the plan in Washington denounced it as heavily favoring Israel and denying them a viable independent state. Brexit is now a reality, but as the transition period gets underway and negotiations continue on the future trading relationship between the United Kingdom and the European Union, the situation in Northern Ireland presents an enormous challenge, especially on cross-border issues. Reporter Andrew Wilson has more.
The morning milk rolls off the Carlingford ferry, a regular short crossing that's about to get controversial.
Your man's dead on there, or they go back off again?
No, they're coming off, darn yet.
Because it happens to run between Ireland and the UK.
So we just carry on going, yeah. Just carry on going, that's it, yeah. That's all we can do, so it is, so yeah. I don't know if it'll have much of an effect or not. I don't think it will, to be honest with you, like, so we just keep on doing our job.
But for the haulage companies, Brexit offers only uncertainty. Possible customs checks means drivers' overtime and lots more paperwork. But so far, no confirmation. Small wonder the freight associations here are asking for government support.
If you miss your booking slot, you're in trouble. It adds hours to us, which is cost to us, driver, not getting reloads. So anything that slows down a process of what we have at the moment is going to have a financial impact on our business.
But the Brexit front line will be fish. Here in Kilkeel, resentment runs deep against EU quotas. The trawlers may expect UK control of the fisheries, but for sure Brussels will fight for continued EU access to these waters and will leverage other deals against fishing rights. Britain may have the fish, but Europe has the restaurant tables. So in the next few months, whenever Westminster pushes for deals on financial services or banking, Brussels will push back for more concessions at sea. The papers are already calling it fish for finance.
Well, like, where do you end? If we don't get access to your fishing grounds, we're going to stop you selling your fish to Europe. Okay, well, if you do that, we'll stop buying French wine. This industry, probably more than any industry, is unique. We see opportunities from Brexit. Clearly there's challenges, but the opportunities outweigh the challenges. We've had a lot of challenges down through the years. We could recite those to him blue in the face, but we have proven our resilience, and we will prove it again.
Down the road, Clonallen is a small firm making bespoke medical kits for hospital theatres in Ireland and the UK.
Squares you see there are surgical gauze swabs. These are lollipop sticks that they will use.
Clonallen boss Dermot Dempster has been busy. He's set up a second facility south of the border, ready for EU demand, and he's registered for EU compliance to certify his products for export into the European Union. It's been hard work, but in his view, it's all about survival.
It can look like that, but I mean, everybody's going to be affected by this. You know, there's not a company on the island of Ireland that will not be affected in some shape or fashion. So we've got to be professional about this. We've got to work through it and come out the other side, and I think we will do that.
The clock is now ticking and Northern Ireland faces potentially turbulent times. But because of where it is, between Great Britain and Ireland, it's no stranger to change, and as a result brings a history of resilience to the challenges ahead.
Welcome back. This is ANN News and Sport. Super Eagles coach Gernot Rohr says is in talks with the team's former striker, Odion Ighalo, to return to the national team. Ighalo announced his retirement immediately after the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations tournament in Egypt, where he was the highest goal scorer with 5 goals. The Franco-German reveals there's a dream of every coach to have a player playing for a club like Manchester United in their ranks. Ighalo had a decent scoring record on the international stage, netting 16 goals in 35 appearances for Nigeria. Executive Committee of the Confederation of African Football, CAF, has voted not to renew the mandate of FIFA's Secretary General, Fatma Samura, after 6 months in that position. FIFA confirmed that Samura's mandate had come to an end last Saturday, and the global body's 6-month mission in Africa had been completed successfully. CAF's members have also agreed to analyze FIFA's set of findings, recommendations, and proposals. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.